What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fluffhammer. Today I'm going to be showing you how I painted the Shoal or Slate bases that I used for my Imperial Fists on Fafnir Rann. That was very kindly shared by the Warhammer community team on Friday evening on the Hangout and Hobby show they do. So I'm going to go through the steps one by one, what equipment I used, what paints I used, and how I did it. And I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into this. These are the MicroArt Studio Shoal bases, and they are absolutely awesome. The detail on them is fantastic quality. They weren't particularly cheap compared to other ones that you can get on eBay and stuff like that, but definitely worth the money, I think. What I did to mine here was I always test fit, and I needed to put two small bits of slate on the base to just level out the footing for Fafnir Rann. And here I've got the new Rosemary & Co brushes I just picked up. They are not the model dry brushes, they're just slightly different. They're a bit thicker and firmer, but they are really good for base coating. So we started off with a Steel Legion Drab from Citadel all over. And then we're going into Baneblade Brown, again from Citadel. And we're going to be dry brushing that all over using an Artis Opus Series D large brush. And then I'm going to be adding some Karak Stone. As you'll see, I haven't washed my brush in between because it helps retain some of the pigment from the previous stage. So that helps you get a smoother blend rather than having like a choppy one-to-one. As you change paints, it leaves a little bit of it in the bristles, so that helps smooth out the blend a little bit. Next up, we're going into Ushabti Bone, again from Citadel. And it's going to be another highlight and another dry brush. And as you can see, there's not a huge amount of difference here again. And once you've blended it in on the brush, it just makes for a smoother transition again. So it's just building up. As you can see, there's not a huge amount of contrast in this base. But then when you look at natural rocks and stones and stuff, you don't get really dark, rich shadows. So yeah, it's just the look that I'm going for with it. After the dry brushing stage, it's time to start adding some glazes. So I'm going to go into medium rust from AK. And as you can see, I've thinned it down quite a lot. Probably 4 to 5 parts water to 1 part paint. And we're just going to stain the rock now. Again, you know, this isn't a kind of direct realism piece, but I'm aiming for like the shadow areas and anywhere where kind of dirt and dust and sand could deposit. So not on the kind of high points, mainly looking for little crevices and recesses. This stage will need a little while to dry because I went quite heavy with the wash. And then again, we're going to make another glaze with a towel light ochre. And do basically the same thing again, but with slightly less patches, and that will help blend the two glazes together. The rust is quite stark, very orangey, so adding this yellow ochre in here really helps kind of sell that old, dirty, sandy rock effect. Okay, so next up we are going into one of my favourite colours. It is Off-White from Vallejo, and I'm going to be using a medium Artis Opus Series D dry brush. As you can see now, I've added Fafnir Rann to the base, and that's purely because after this stage we're going to be going into weathering, and I want the boots and the kind of lower leg to have the same weathering powders on as the base. So it's the time where we try and blend the model into the base. A lot of the times when people paint the base separately, they forget to add any sort of weathering or colouring onto the model to join the two together. So you can lose some of the atmosphere that way when the model doesn't look like it belongs on its base. So that's why I've added him on now. So as we add the weathering powders, that will blend the two together. What we're doing with the off-white is just doing some select highlights. As you can see, going around picking out a lot of the high points, making sure you test your dry brush on either a palette or your hand, just to make sure you've got no big deposits of paint in there. So here we go into weathering powders. I actually got a earth powder from Vallejo, but I didn't use that. The rust pigment powder from Vallejo, which we did use. The ochre from Humbrol, and light dust from AK Interactive. And here you can see it's basically replicating where we put that rust glaze. We're going to be putting the rust pigments down as well. I'm keeping the same brush and I'm just working my way through the light dust from AK. And as that's the light pigment, I'm using that to blend into the rusty surface and into the high points. So we're getting still texture on the rock as well, which is what I like about the pigments. And then, yeah, the ochre powder from Humbrol, and we're going to be blending that in as well. So we're using 3 different types of pigments and we're smoothing them all out together to make a nice smooth transition. Once we're happy with that, I've done a spray of AK Ultra Matte Varnish over the entire model, including the base, and it's time to black out the base rim. Then we're going to go in and add some highlights. We're using Karak Stone and, again, my favourite paint, Off-White from Vallejo. And we're going to be doing this roughly 50-50 with water, so to make like a layer consistency almost. We don't want it as wet as a glaze or anything like that. And I'm going to be using, I think I'm using a size 2 Kolinsky Sable from Green Stuff World here. Any brush will do though, size 1 or size 2, something like that. Just where you can get a nice neat tip. And we're going to be picking out some of these details. As I was saying about the MicroArt Studio, you can see here the amount of detail they've managed to get in this resin slate base is absolutely amazing. There's probably more texture and it looks slightly more realistic than the actual 2 pieces of slate that are directly under Fafnir Rann's feet. So really impressed with the bases. This video wasn't sponsored, they didn't send them to me or anything. Just bought them with my own money, but really impressed with the quality of the bases. Delivery was very slow, but that obviously isn't down to the company, that's just Royal Mail here in England. So what I'm doing here as well, as I said, I'm continuing my way around the base. This is the bit of actual real slate that I stuck to the base to level out his foot area. And as you can see, it's actually really smooth. So I'm just choosing to add some texture to it myself, replicating the kind of thin lines in one direction that the resin slate has on these bases. And I'm just using my brush at angles as well to edge highlight the entire way round all of the individual slate pieces. And this is the final stage on the base. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this tutorial. I hope you've learnt something from it. I hope you check out MicroArt Studio bases, because I'm really impressed with them, and that is what I'm going to be basing my entire Imperial Fists army on going forward. If you've got any questions or queries, give me a shout in the comments below. Once again, if there's any videos you'd like to see, any particular style of basing or anything, then definitely let me know in the comments below. If you could do me a massive favour and subscribe, I would absolutely love that. Most of my viewers are not subscribed, so that would be much appreciated if you could hit that button. And I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. If you want to help support me directly and pick up your own Fafnir Rann or any other Games Workshop products, please hit the affiliate link down below, which will take you to Element Games, and that will just give me a little bit of kickback on anything you purchase, and it would be greatly appreciated, and it would also help the channel so I can buy more things and do more tutorials. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.